Yeah, always a unique week when you play the Air Force Academy. Troy and I go back a long time from our original days in the Mountain West Conference. And so I admire and respect the job he does with Air Force every single year. And so challenging systems to defend as well as to go against defensively, and just can always expect great effort and toughness and resiliency from the kids that play at Air Force. The qualifications for those kids to play there and what their daily schedule looks like and the rigor is really impressive. And I think that has a lot to do with the history and success at Air Force with Coach Calhoun and what they're doing. So it's always doesn't ever seem like it's quite enough time in the course of a week, but lots of history and lots of games that we've had against each other. So look forward to the next one.
Coach Mendenhall, Jason Turner from the Herald Journal. I'm holding the mic correctly this week. Just, I mean, how much different is Air Force's triple option scheme, if any, than what you encountered when you were at BYU?
Quite a bit different because the rules have changed and some of the blocking is different, and so Air Force does a really nice job just with how creative, and so certainly there's option, and that's really effective. But there's also multiple other types of run games and formations and different things they do. So probably more than anyone, their creativity and the way to maximize the personnel they have and how well they adjust in game is really exceptional.
Jason Walker with Cache Valley Daily. I know after week one, it's kind of breeding grounds for overreactions, but after week two, we can maybe see some trends developing. What trends are you kind of seeing in your team through 2 weeks?
Still developing. I would say personnel and roles are becoming defined. Team identities by side of the ball becoming clearer, not become. A lot of that has to do with the opponent you're playing, especially the contrast from a spread personnel team in week one to a lot of 12 personnel at Texas A&M in week two, and a different caliber of opponent. And so you start to see the beginnings of what an identity would be. Still not enough time in terms of trends. Yeah, we've seen protection being a challenge so far in terms of protecting a quarterback, but I also see productivity and creativity and a lot of possibilities offensively. Defensively, very few big plays in the first game, and more than we would have liked in game two. They came in different places. So again, caliber of opponent, style of play is also part of it. And then, yeah, I would say, and then penalties kind of mixed throughout. That part in terms of some of the unintended consequences or playing against ourselves a little bit is in the way. Looks like we have some issues with our meeting space here.
Coach AJ Southson, Aggie Sports Radio Network. Speaking of penalties, wanted to ask about special team penalties. Kind of reared its ugly head again. What are you seeing on those, especially like delay game, and what do you got to do to fix those penalties?
Yeah, it's just concentration and preparation. I think the really teams play as you prepare them to play, and sometimes where you think we're prepared, the decisions and the habits aren't deep enough and they don't hold yet. And so that's what's happening special teams wise. So a lot of operational things, pre-snap, alignment wise, especially. And then we had, again, the delay of game, which is a timing and an awareness thing. So lots to do to still improve and tighten up kind of the collective operation of the team.
And want to ask about any update on Trey Anderson and his health going into it.
I don't have an update yet. And just kind of as base policy, I usually won't share exactly what the injury is. We usually come on Thursday or whenever we have to do our first reporting. I think it's best not only for the family and the player, but also just in the landscape of sports wagering and et cetera. It's just better policy.
Hey, Coach Mark Green with Utah Statesman. This game obviously marks first game of conference schedule, but then you'll have another 2 games, 3 weeks until the next conference game. How, if any, does that kind of impact your preparation for the next couple of weeks and then the next conference game?
Yeah.
Just your thoughts on that.
It really doesn't. It is a conference game, but gosh, every game we play is important to us and has equal value. And we're so early in this particular program, the season, the era. There's lots to uncover and so much work to do. And now, really, for 3 straight weeks, the style of opponent drastically different from week 1 to week 2, and now week 2 to week 3. So lots of firsts for this team and lots of challenges. Again, it never feels like quite enough time at the beginning of the season, and especially the beginning of a program when you have this kind of diversity of opponents.
So against Texas A&M, you earlier in the game, a lot of the same stuff we saw against Texas A&M or against UTEP on offense, 2 tight end packages, even 3 running back, heavier stuff. Then later in the game, you went some 4 or 5 wide receivers. Just talk about some of the adjustments you made later in the game that kind of opened up the offense there at the end.
Yeah, I think Coach McGiven and our offensive staff, as we came in at halftime, it was really clear where we thought there were opportunities. And I think collectively we made some really nice adjustments as a program and score and then stop them on 4th down. And it's now 30-14 and we have the ball in really good field position. And so I think we could all sense there's a great chance here to make it within a 1-score game. And again, we were thinking 2 scores, go for 2 on both, and that's a 2-score game on the road. And that was kind of feeling how we had expected and we're kind of planning it to go. We didn't expect to fall as far behind in the first half, but in the second half, especially in that third quarter, the plan was starting to kind of unfold as we would hope, and we just didn't capitalize.
Coach, a lot of guys on your team are going to know Cade Harris played at Roy High School. He had a big week against Bucknell first game. How important is it that you never lose sight on him on the field, whether he's running the ball, catching passes, or returning punts?
Yeah, really good player and multifaceted and fun to watch. So again, Air Force does a nice job of maximizing their personnel, and he's a pivotal piece.
Wanted to ask you a question about their defense. They've led the Mountain West in total defense each of the last 5 seasons. Now, some of that's going to be because teams have fewer possessions than normal, but they've still been solid on that side of the ball. What catches your attention about their defense?
Well, the Air Force just plays complementary football, so the style of play on defense matches the style of play on offense, and so they're really well designed, which attributes to their success. In returning to the league a year ago, it was just refreshing and interesting to see just kind of the changes they'd made since I'd left the league quite a while ago. And the league has changed, but they have a clear model and formula for success and really have gone to great lengths to design it. So it just fits together well.
And this is probably the last question I asked about Texas A&M, but how do you assess your team's performance overall? It's an SEC team. They're 4- and 5-star recruits. You guys are kind of a bunch of underdog recruits. How do you assess the overall your performance in that game?
I think it was just the next game of growth, improvement, and identifying roles and clarity and what style of play is going to fit our team best. So still in the discovery mode, but no question the team competed hard. They showed a lot of grit, a lot of toughness, a lot of heart. They battled right to the very end. Our execution didn't quite match the will that we displayed, and so we were too inconsistent. But the intent to compete and the mindset was really positive. And I think everyone was disappointed we lost the game. I know there are many that maybe see that as there's a moral victory. I've heard that quite a bit just since we've returned. But we went to win the game, and we're all disappointed we didn't.
Piggybacking off one of Jason's questions a little bit, where you have Air Force, they can limit the number of yards, some of that being limit of possessions. And so where you might have 1 or 2 fewer possessions than you normally do on offense, just how much more important is it to take advantage, especially since you've had some offensive possessions kind of cut short because of penalties and whatnot?
It really important. Clean play, super important against Air Force because they do limit the number of possessions by the style of play offensively. And so clean play, maximizing every chance you get, super important.
I've got like 3 more questions. I keep going. Air Force, they played the one game, played an FCS team, and then they got a bye. What kind of impact do you expect that to have where they've not really played a whole lot this season so far?
Hard to say. I know those kids have really rigorous schedules academically and with the other things they have. And so they're probably welcoming just the chance to be a little fresher going into week 2, basically, than maybe what they would normally have. How much difference it's going to make, not sure. You can always argue that you improve each time you play a game. And so they might say they like it. They might say they don't. I could see it either way.
And Miles and Jalen both had pretty big impacts in the game, again, running and as far as receiving. How are they living up to kind of your maybe preseason expectations of what you thought they'd be able to do in this offense?
Yeah, they are living up to them, and our advancement system kind of predicted that, and so they're both multifaceted and really good at both, not only running the ball but catching the ball. So they're all-purpose backs, and to have two of them, not to mention yet Noah White, and I think that his role will continue to emerge and grow as the season progresses. Yeah, I like a lot what I've seen from them.
And attendance in the first game was one of the lowest home openers. I think it's like 2007 or something like that. I know I asked you about the secrecy and what you thought of that. But, like, you feel like that contributed to that? And then I guess what message would you have for the fans coming on
Oh,
Saturday?
we'd love to see the fans, and I don't think the secrecy had anything to do with it. So I see a great relationship building. I think the fans will support this team. We'll do everything we can to represent the community, the institution, and so I see it just getting better and better.
Rocco, Jason Rock with Cache Valley Daily. How have you felt about you and Josh's role so far in the offense this season? I know you've been out there on the field. Not as many catches between the two of you, but how have you felt about your guys' role and the impact you've had on the offense so far?
Yeah, it's been cool. We've done just so many different personnels we get into, which is cool. So I feel like we've done a good amount of 12 personnel thus far, and they got us all over the place doing a bunch of different things. Obviously, the targets haven't come, but those will come with time.
Brock Parker with Utah Statesman. Obviously, having played Air Force a couple of times, very unique just style, everything. One of the more experienced leaders on the team. How do you kind of use that experience to kind of just prepare for Air Force and prepare your team for Air Force?
Yeah, just for offense at least. Because of that offense they run, we're not going to be on the field as much as usual. So it's just kind of keeping the guys in tuned on the sideline and making sure that we stay warm and we stay locked in and making the most of every drive. Just because you don't get as much as you will in most games.
Brock, Jason Turner from the Herald Journal. I don't know if you heard Coach Mendenhall's remarks after Game 1 against UTEP. He praised you for returning here. Just said a lot of P4 programs are after you. Just your reaction to that, and how much, what is it about Utah State that keeps coming back year after year after year?
Yeah, I love it here at Utah State. I didn't hear exactly what Coach said, but pretty cool when Coach talks about you highly. But it's Utah State, man. I love it here. This place is home. Been here since a month after I turned 18. Just feel like I've grown a lot here, and I couldn't imagine being anywhere else. Love it here.
Just following up, like one of the things he mentioned was how often teams were contacting you. I don't know what offers were made or whatnot. Just how prevalent was that for you these past couple of off seasons?
Yeah, it was definitely something different, especially not being in the portal, but just a lot of different schools, a lot of different big schools hit me up. So it was a lot to weigh and a lot on me mentally, but I'm glad I'm still here.
With Air Force, a lot of the talk is their offense. It's pretty unique for modern
Mhm.
football. Is there anything the defense does that is different, or is it roughly standard, at least for what any team might run?
They're pretty standard. They do a little things different as each team does, but they're pretty standard for the most part.
What's been your kind of assessment of the team for the first 2 weeks? Everyone expect you to win the first week. Everyone expect the second week to be pretty tough. But what have you seen from this team through these first couple of weeks, and maybe what you guys were hoping to see from the team?
Yeah, obviously you hope to win both of them, but I think it's obvious this team fights, and we're gonna play. You had to turn the game on with 2 minutes left in the fourth, and you wouldn't have been able to tell if it was 2 minutes left in the fourth quarter or first play of the game. I think just a lot of dudes that care and that are bought into this culture, willing to fight.
So this game obviously marks the start of conference play. Kind of bring them a different mindset for a lot of players. So we play this, we go back to non-conference. Does that kind of affect your preparation at all, or kind of the way you do this week versus last week or next week?
I would say no. Every week is must win, but obviously the conference ones are. I don't know. For me and for some of these guys that have been here, like these are some of the dudes you've seen at these schools for a while, coaches you've seen. So it means a little more, but at the same time, every week is must win.
I know. Jason
Hi.
Turner from the Herald Journal. Just how important was it for you guys to gain some confidence and momentum there at the end of the Texas Tech game going into your conference opener?
It means a lot. I mean, it's not the outcome we wanted, but I think going against an opponent like that, we learned a lot, and I think we showed that we can go toe to toe with anyone when we're locked into our assignments and we execute right. But it meant a lot. It was a good game.
Jason Walker with Cash for the Daily. You mentioned you learned a lot. What are some of the biggest things you felt like you learned from that game about yourself, especially coming out of the UTEP game?
Coming out of the UTEP game or Texas A&M?
What you learned against Texas A&M, especially coming off the UTEP game, where it was a good performance.
I would say my mindset's the same going into every game. I just go in like all that matters is how I'm gonna do my job, and I can go toe to toe with anyone, whether it's UTEP or Texas A&M. I mean, all that I learned about that game is that doesn't matter who's in front of me. I can make plays. I can do my job, and we can be a good defense.
Mark Green with Utah Statesman. Coach Mendenhall expressed kind of the sentiment of no moral victories, but obviously for a program that struggled on the defensive end the last couple of weeks, it's been a big improvement. Is there any kind of feeling of gratitude, or not gratitude, but just being proud of the defensive level of the last couple of weeks and how that's been improvement from years prior?
Yeah, I would say so. I'd say I'm just proud of our defense. I'm proud of my teammates and my brothers for how we fight, and you could tell that. I mean, we're going to go out there and we're going to fight with anyone. But just it means a lot that we're able to go out there and play good defense. I mean, that's not something that we could say that Utah State's always been good at, but it does mean a lot, like knowing that when we're locked into our assignments and then when we work hard, that we can hold anyone to a stop, that we can be a great defense. Yeah, it does mean a lot.
And obviously preparing for Air Force, they're in a very unique style of triple option, difficult to defend,
Yeah.
on the field for a long time. As a player who's done that a lot, this program didn't play him last year. How can you kind of advance the defensive end this week to kind of prepare for that and to mitigate that effect?
Yeah, I've been playing them a lot. I mean, I know what's coming. They play the triple option football. I mean, it's not a normal style of football, especially in college, but you know exactly what's coming. They're not trying to hide anything. It's just going to be a physical game. But I think when it comes to practicing and preparing, we just need to do our best to match the intensity that we're going to play with in the game. We can't expect to practice soft all week and then go hard in the game. We got to do our best to play exactly how we're going to play in the game, which is going to be physical.
So, having played them a couple times before and defensive performances weren't super great in those two,
Yeah.
what were the biggest shortcomings you feel like the defense had against Air Force those last two games?
I think for the most part, it's just assignment sound. I feel like when it comes to Air Force, like I said, they're not trying to hide anything. They're trying to run the ball, triple option. It's just who can do their assignment better for longer. And it just comes down to discipline and execution. So whoever can execute and has the most discipline on their assignments, they're going to win the game.
So Air Force is actually coming off a week 2 bye, a bit rare that they've only played one game, where this will be you guys' third game. Do you think that'll have any impact where they got to play one game, week off? They'll have 2 weeks to prepare for you. Like,
Yeah.
you feel like that'll have any impact on this game?
I'm not sure. I don't think it'll have an impact on either of us. I mean, they might have more time to prepare, but whether we have more or less time, we're going to prepare just as hard if we play them today or Saturday. So our preparation is going to remain the same.
Anoka, just I'm sure you've seen the film of their game against Bucknell. What were your impressions about Air Force in that game, and especially their offense?
I would say the same thing I always see, just a physical game. I mean, that's what we can expect from Air Force. They're just trying to run the ball down the middle. They're trying to get people confused in their assignments, but it's the same thing I've always seen every year. Having played them so many times, it's just physicality, and we got to be prepared to match that physicality.
Hey, Anoka, this is Patrick Mayhorn from the Ag Ship on Zoom. The defensive line rotation has been pretty deep through 2 games. I think it was 9 guys deep in game 1.
Yes, sir.
Maybe 10 this week. How does that change the way that you can defend against Air Force, especially on that front, dealing with cut blocks, dealing with the way that they like to play?
I would say it means a lot. I mean, having depth is always a good thing. I'm just saying, if you can play, you can play. It's always good to have someone who knows what they're doing, and if they need to step up, they can step up. Yeah, our D line room is probably one of the deepest in the Mountain West. We're rotating all the time just because we have so many guys who know what they're doing. But it means a lot. I mean, as long as the more people who know their job and the more people that can get in the game, the better. That's just going to be all the more for us.